Hello there, and welcome to another episode of 1320 Time Stream. My name is Leia Eternal, and hello today. So, do you know what's going on here? If you've been with us for 9 days, I imagine you do. We are in the Red Earth wavespell, on the wavespell of the Red Earth. And we are on the 9th day of it, just starting the 3rd corridor, which is marked by the serpent, specifically the solar serpent. Okay, just give you a little looky there. And we'll go right into our quick start us off breath meditation to just bring that energy into the body. And this is what it's going to look like. The solar tone is your left elbow, and the serpent is your right big toe. So you'll want to breathe in through your right big toe and your left elbow. So begin that when you're ready. Breathing in through your right big toe and your left elbow. Just doing a few initiatory breaths. We'll get more into that particular breath and the other 4 as well as we get into the Mayan pyramid meditation at the last stage of our episode today. So, the solar tone. Pulse, realize, and intention. I feel there was the other day during the hidden power of the day. That was it. I believe it was the storm, actually. Oh, no, because the storm's hidden power is the wind. Aha, so then it was the dragon. That was it. The dragon, yeah, the hidden power of the dragon was the solar sun, because it was 5 dragon solar sun. 5 plus 9 equals 14. And it was a really beautiful kind of like receiving. And I shared how the solar tone is kind of like the essence of intention transforming into intent. And that's like the generality of this pulse of light, this solar pulsing will, intentional energy. The pulse being the aspect of it that is like you showing up in different times, recognizing what it is that you're, say, hoping to happen. And there's this kind of like dualism or separation where you and the thing that you kind of want to happen as far as intent or intention or, wishing something to occur, there's kind of like an identity that it hasn't occurred yet. And so the pulse action is like aligning our mind, aligning our action, aligning our heart, aligning our emotions, aligning the collective field. This may happen through things like prayer or things like meditation or just different ways that we can kind of focus our energy, focus our mind, orient it, align it with this thing. And this doesn't necessarily happen all at once. As we do this, it kind of forms that realization. The more and more we realize that we're showing up, we're going in this direction, other things that are, say, hindering us or inhibiting us from getting there are dissolving, getting out of the way. And then that realization begins to crop up more and more, and that realization becomes the intent. Pulse, realize, intent. And so the pulse is the energy kind of in a waveform, up, down. There's a bit of a binary in it. Realization is more of this radiant effect, and intent is like the strike. It is like hitting home. In another way, the pulse simply represents that. kind of like something that isn't full on. It isn't all on. It's not a steady stream. It's going in such a way that there is a rhythm to it. There's a pulse to it, kind of like your heart. And in this way, I feel the dynamic of realization does play a very similar role, that there's a pulse and it's kind of like a rhythmic showing up. There's a continuosity. And as these energies really share presence with us, a continuosity becomes realization. And so I feel there's a lot of ways to explain it. Really, I find it all comes down really to the same thing. And it's that motion of that energy, which becomes kind of like a singular stream of energy, kind of like a solar ray. In this way, I find it very interesting. We can have a lot of very creative analogies as we come to the serpent. Survival, instinct, and life force. There's many other aspects of the serpent as well. The survival aspect, I feel, is very plain. The serpent represents the lowest of the 4 brains represented in the Mayan calendar or dream spell. They actually take place on the 2 thumbs and 2 toes of your body. The right toe being your serpent, the left thumb being the dog, the left toe being the eagle, and the right thumb being the sun. The serpent represents kind of like the lower primal instinctual mind, that kind of like hunt, kill, eat, very primal reptilian brain. Going up one, you have the dog, which represents the mammalian brain, which is that family consciousness, that's group consciousness. It's more emotional, it's more sense, feel oriented. From there up again, you have the eagle. And the eagle is the higher mind. The eagle is the planetary mind. The serpent's affirmation is kind of like, I am myself, I am separate. The dog is like, I am my family, I am my group, I am my tribe. And the eagle is like, I am the world. And we go up one more time, and then we have the sun, which is, I am the universe, I am everything. And so in this way, as we look at the 4 minds, the reptilian brain complex simplified by the serpent having that quality of survival, this could be one of those times to feel that energy of, it might be more cutting, it might be more fierce. The serpent can have fangs and venom. And so look for that side of it. You know, within you, do what you can to recognize those principles, recognize those energies as kind of like sometimes the harshness of reality comes up and rears its ugly head. You're like, oh, I wasn't ready for that. Or, oh, that hurt. Or, yeah, you know, I really do got to get that done. Or like, oh, I'm running out of food. Or, oh, no, this just happened to me. Or, oh, no, I hurt my body. You know, all these things are really primal, survival-based force. How do I take care of myself? And sometimes those energies where you're not really thinking or caring about other people come to bear. You're kind of doing it alone. Instinct. Survive, life force, instinct. And so yeah, it's really interesting. I actually want to kind of go to the instinct next. I feel that survival really moves to the instinct. The instinct is like, it's very much like intuition, but it's different. It's kind of based on a hunger. It's based on the survival. Instinct is based on the survivalness of things, whether it's run away. It can be very fear-based. It can be fight or flight based. And so our brain complex, represented by the serpent, can really bring those messages during a day and say, hey, look at this, which is really important and really necessary for you to look at. The other aspects I really want to bring to it, and this is why I cover these kind of like lower gravity aspects. Because the way I see the serpent is through that life force energy, and that's Kundalini life force. That is the sexual energy that started in the seed, and then before that started in the night. It was like that energy in the unconscious, which you could say came from the movement of the breath of the spirit. The breath, which is the very sexual energy, moves into the night, moves into the unconscious. And unconscious begins to come into form as the seed. And as that seed begins to hatch, the serpent comes out in some way, almost like the stem of the flower. And that's this effervescent sexual energy, this life-giving force, this life force. And so this is kind of where I start the energy of the day, around bringing the sign into the tone. And the way I see it here is that pulse-like rhythm is going to be actually very important today. That we're not just going to do anything full on or get lost in anything. And whatever it is, we're going to be doing bit by bit, like dotted lines. Do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, or if we are doing the one thing, we keep showing back up to it, but dip down, right? And so the serpent energy, the way I see this, if we're talking about that sexual energy, if we're talking about that Kundalini energy, and I bring this analogy because if we think of it as the four minds, that Kundalini energy is the energy that allows our own complex mental, complex brain network to start from those lower survival-based centers, to come up more into the heart-based centers, more into the higher mind centers, and then to the universal centers. But that's not without us being able to move that energy or tune ourselves. And that's where that kind of pulse and realization energy comes in, is we can kind of create a rhythm. Right? That sexual energy has a rhythm, and it allows us to witness that survival energy, witness that instinctual energy. And I find as those energies are met, the life force really emerges. And that's kind of paired up with that intent energy. The life force and that intent are very similar in that way, that they're kind of like a beam of life. But in this way, I give it an analogy of the beam because it's kind of coming up through your chakras or coming up your spine. That is the serpent. So yeah, I find there's two very definitive energies of the day, and one is the potential aspect of having more cutting, survival-based, personal need-based energy, and the other one is that Kundalini life force energy and how it shows up for you. Maybe a really good day to dance. Let's kind of shake it. On that note, we're going to shake it to the affirmation section of today's episode. I'll see you there.